Welcome to Stache Sports episode 19. Steelers game day. Last night we had two close games. In the Patriots game they won 16-3. But good job to the Jaguars, even though they lost 27 by 3 points. But they had a good season. Their coach finally turned them around, making them the first seed in the playoffs. But they came up short. But they will learn from this. And I think the Jaguars finally have themselves a ball coach finally that will help the Jaguars be successful in years to come. But they came up short, making the Buffalo Bills move on to next week. Also, a good season to the Jaguars, but you'll be back next year. The next game was between the current Super Bowl champions, the Philadelphia Eagles, and the San Francisco 49ers. The San Francisco 49ers came in with injuries and also lost their star tight end and George Kittle to an Achilles injury, which is not good because means he'll probably be out for the rest of the playoffs now if they would advance. The 49ers came back with a last-second touchdown to knock off the Super Bowl champions, so we'll have a new Super Bowl champion this year. We'll have new Super Bowl champions this year because the Philadelphia Eagles have been knocked out of the playoffs by the 49ers. But that was a close game. So far, 4 of the games have been close. And then last night, the Patriots played the Chargers and won 16-3. And won 16-3. Meaning then we'll move on. Now, tonight's game is the last game between the Steelers and Texans in the wild card week. Whoever wins this game will go on and play the Patriots, since the Buffalo Bills have the lowest seed and will face the Denver Broncos next week. But we don't need to be worried about who we're facing. The Steelers need to be worried about winning the playoff game, because that's the reason we got Aaron Rodgers and DK Metcalf, Jalen Ramsey, Johnny Smith, even though Johnny Smith hasn't done anything this year for the Steelers. Has been kind of a disappointment. And the other players we got this year to go wrong with TJ Watt, Cam Hayward, and the rest of them. This is why the Steelers had a busy offseason and got all these players to hopefully finally win the playoff game. It's been since 2016, the last time the Pittsburgh Steelers have won a playoff game. I think tonight will be the difference. I think that Aaron Rodgers is playing his best ball right now. And I think Aaron Rodgers will be able to beat the Texans. So finally, we get DK Metcalf back after his 2-game suspension when he attacked or swiped at the Lions fan. We need him back, much needed, since he's our top receiver and will help the other receivers in Calvin Austin, Pat Freiermuth, hopefully. Hopefully Johnny Smith does something tonight. That'll be nice, because we're going to need Johnny Smith tonight and Pat Freiermuth, our 2 tight ends, because Darnell Washington is still out with a broken arm. So hopefully one of these other tight ends, Mal Washington or Connor Hayward, or hopefully Johnny Smith can also step up with Pat Freiermuth stepping up. Hopefully the Steelers pass the ball down the middle of the field that we've been complaining about the whole year. Hopefully the defense shows up too, because the Texans are not going to be an easy component, and we need our defense to be sharp tonight, like they were last week against the Baltimore Ravens, even though that came down to a last-second field goal. But we need the Steelers to show up tonight and win, so they can finally get the monkey off Tomlin's back and win a playoff game, since Tomlin has not been able to win a playoff game since 2016, even though he's been in there a lot of years. Let's hope it's not another classic Tomlin playoff game where we have to watch our team get blown out. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think this team is more complete this year. We're one of the healthiest going into playoffs in quite a while. We have TJ Watt and all our starters playing for the most part. We're losing a couple like Darnell Washington and a couple offensive line. But our offensive line with Dylan Cook has been looking a lot better. Even though the Texans come in with the best defensive line, that's going to be tough. But I think our offensive line can now manage them tonight and hopefully keep Aaron Rodgers upright enough time to throw the ball to either DK Metcalf, not Roman Olsen, because he's always benched. But Calvin Austin, Pat Freiermuth, and hopefully we have a good run game tonight between Jalen Warren and Kenneth Gainwell. They need to get on the ground going and get a lot of rushing yards to also help Aaron Rodgers, so it's not just the Aaron Rodgers show tonight. We need a good running game tonight too. We need a good running game tonight for the Steelers. We need Kenneth Gainwell to show up in the playoffs. We've been showing why he's our team MVP this year. We need to use Gainwell a lot. We need to have Jalen Warren have a lot of rushing yards and a lot of catches too tonight to help the Steelers. We also would be greatly appreciated if the Steelers defense, like last week, when TJ Watt had the interception, it'd be greatly appreciated they can have another interception or defensive takeaway tonight against the Houston Texans offense. And let's hope they don't have Woody Marks run all over us for the Texans. And let's hope they can block Nico Collins and the Steelers can win tonight. Because we have not won a playoff game since 2016. That's been a long drought, and it needs to finally end. That's the whole reason, in my opinion, that we got Aaron Rodgers this year and everybody else, is to finally have Mike Tomlin win a playoff game. We haven't had a good quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, I think, since Big Ben retired. I know we had Russell Wilson last year going to the playoffs, but we lost with Russell Wilson. In years past, we have other quarterbacks, but we finally have a good quarterback now since Big Ben's retired. And if anything shows him last week shows that no matter what, no matter how stressful the game gets, it's not over until the final whistle. But hopefully tonight, the Steelers win. Hopefully the Steelers can win tonight and make it a big win. Make us Steeler fans happy that we finally won a playoff game since 2016. It's been a long, long time since we have seen the Steelers win a playoff game. And I think tonight is the night we finally see it and go on and play the Patriots next week. But we will see. All I do is watch the games and hope for the best and hope my team wins. I think DK Metcalf will have a big game after being suspended for 2 games. He's going to show up tonight and have a monster game for the Steelers to try to put the Steelers fans to rest that are griping on him because he missed 2 games by acting like a child and swiping at the fan when he should have just walked away. I think last week's last touchdown to Calvin Austin might have finally woken up that spark plug between Aaron Rodgers and Calvin Austin has another decent night and maybe another touchdown. The Steelers are underdog favorites, are underdog in their hometown. The last time I checked, the betting odds. But I think the Steelers are going to win, and I would bet my money on the Steelers tonight. If I was going to bet, but I'm not betting. But we will see. I think the Steelers have a good game. I think Boswell makes up for it and had a couple clutch field goals tonight. I think Metcalf has a good night. And maybe Pat Fryman finally has another good night. Or some surprise receiver comes up. Like Johnny Smith maybe has a good night finally being on the Steelers. Or Calvin Austin has his best night, best career game of the season. But we will see tonight at 8 o'clock on ESPN between the Steelers and the Texans. It's going to be 32 degrees outside, and it's going to be pretty cold. And the Houston Texans play inside in Houston, so hopefully that's an advantage for the Steelers. But anyway, I think the Steelers need a win to show them that we had a good season, because that's why we brought Aaron Rodgers, is to help have a good quarterback, that's a future Hall of Fame quarterback who knows how to play in cold weather when he used to play in Green Bay, and a little time when he played in New Jersey, if it got cold because the Jets stink. But this is the whole reason we got Aaron Rodgers, is to finally win a playoff game and have us help him win a playoff game and play his best football in the month of January. So let's see what happens tonight. I think Jalen Warren has a big rush game too, and Gainwell has a decent run game behind him. And Gainwell has a couple of decent catches tonight in the game, leading the Steelers to victory. I think the Steelers come out victorious tonight. Maybe in a close game, or maybe by a couple touchdowns. I want to be a couple touchdowns, but knowing the Steelers, it's going to be a close game. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully the Steelers can get a takeaway on defense, and their defense plays like they did last week against the Ravens. So they were looking pretty good last week against the Baltimore Ravens. And Cam Hayward played one of his best games. I think Cam Hayward's playing his best football right now and will continue tonight. I think TJ Watt will have a takeaway again tonight, or somebody else on defense, but because of TJ Watt's help, or Alex Highsmith's help, will have a takeaway. We will see what happens tonight. It's at 8:20 on ESPN networks. But we'll see what happens. I'll be waving my terrible towel all night, hoping the Steelers win the game. It's playoff football in Pittsburgh. First time we've had a home playoff game since 2020, the year of COVID. The year that didn't have that many fans. Heinz Field will be rocking tonight. Yes, I know it's called Heinz Field, even though it's Acrisure Stadium. It's still Heinz Field to me because I'm a diehard Steelers fan, and that's what it's been my whole life, besides a couple years ago when they switched it to Acrisure. We all know downtown Pittsburgh, we call it Heinz. But the Towels will be waving tonight. Renegade will be playing in the fourth quarter. Lots of hope the Steelers have a lead when the Renegade plays. I think the Steelers win tonight and go on and face the New England Patriots next week. Tomorrow we'll talk about the Steelers recap, regardless of what happens, and talk more about other sports, what's happening in the sports world. Also, a quick note is the Penguins lost last night to the Boston Bruins 1-0. They're on a 2-game losing streak, but today we're mostly focused on the Steelers playoff game because it's playoff football in Pittsburgh. First time we've had a home playoff game since 2020. The whole town's excited. Let's hope the Steelers show up tonight and get a win. The first win since 2016 in the playoff game. We're bound to finally get a win, and I think it comes tonight. Thank you for watching Stache Sports episode 19. If you have any comments or anything, please leave them below.